In the previous part, Lu Feng had passed several tests given to him, and this time he would face the Indra test. This young man was required to eliminate all the monsters in that place. What happens next? Let's start the story. Now, Lu Feng has to run as fast as he can while traversing the vast forest to avoid all the awakeners who are trying to harm him. The White Wizard argued that personally fighting all types of awakeners was the best option, so fleeing like that was the best choice. But Mr. BiliBili argued that it was a naive way because the more someone fled, the more tragic their death would be. Lu Feng continued to traverse the forest and successfully broke up the horde into several parts. When he got the right opportunity, this young man managed to hide and deceive all his opponents. They were confused as to where Lu Feng had gone. They slowed their pace while carefully examining the surroundings. Accidentally, one of them stepped on a landmine, resulting in a huge explosion. In this way, dozens of awakeners around that place were defeated by Lu Feng. Another group that heard the explosion immediately urged their members to be cautious and more vigilant. They traversed the forest while carefully scanning around to not miss Lu Feng's presence. At that moment, they saw something very suspicious made of metal. But before they could react further, everyone around that pole was immediately struck by a huge electric shock from that small coil. It was a Tesla coil, an item capable of delivering a powerful electric attack. In the other group, they didn't notice anything, but suddenly they were bombarded, and not a single person survived in an instant. Two wizards were even shocked to see that Lu Feng had set up all those traps. They wondered how an outsider came to the Tower of Trials with so many properties. The White Wizard suspected that the young man came prepared as if he already knew how the whole test would play out. Now, only a few awakeners were left. Lu Feng chose to come out of his hiding place to confront them directly. In a flash, this young man wielded his sword and slashed them one by one. But some other players immediately noticed his presence. Blackie the Wizard was very happy because he was sure that all of Lu Feng's abilities and strange weapons were exhausted. So, he was like a trapped animal in a cage. But on the other hand, Lu Feng smiled widely as all the remaining awakeners continued to pursue him. Lu Feng said that true hunters often appear as prey. Blackie the Wizard argued that this test would soon end because the young man fled to the mountain peak. So, it was certain that he would soon be surrounded and killed there. But the White Wizard didn't want to conclude anything and chose to carefully observe the progress of the test. Lu Feng continued to lure people to climb to the mountaintop. At that moment, he detonated a very large bomb, creating a tremendous landslide. The landslide successfully swept away all the awakeners who were chasing him. The black-robed wizard was shocked because the young man exploded a bomb that could create a landslide on the mountain. He wondered how many weapons Lu Feng, a mere wretch, possessed. But there were still 30% of all remaining professionals, and they all chose to retreat for now, preparing to wait for another opportunity to attack. I am sure when the time comes, Lu Feng could still fail. But the White Wizard said it was too late for them to turn back. Currently, near the altar, there was a middle-aged man who looked confused. Lu Feng approached the man and said that he had found the controller of this game. Lu Feng knew that this level of the test was perception, that is, finding the manipulator behind the scenes and ending everything. But the middle-aged man still denied being the manipulator. With a cold attitude, Lu Feng held that it didn't matter. Besides, the man would soon die. In a flash, Lu Feng wields his sword to kill the man. The system appeared and immediately announced that this perception test was over. Blackie the Wizard was very angry even though now he had transformed into a rat. The White Wizard asked him to be patient and return to his original form because now he looked very frightening. Master Blackie said that unemployment is the hidden job at the highest level. Additional hell level assessments are needed, so he will intervene to play this game. So Master Blackie himself will become unemployed. He will duel to exchange lives with Lu Feng. The White Wizard knew that his colleague hated this challenger so much that he was tempted to intervene directly. As Lu Feng entered the next gate, once again, he was faced with a fighting arena. Now Master Blackie was standing in the middle of the arena to challenge him. Lu Feng said that all tests should have ended, but he just remembered there was one final game like this. Master Blackie welcomed him to the hidden test, but instead of being polite, the young man just waved his hand and said they met again. Honestly, all of Lu Feng's actions far exceeded the expectations of Master Blackie. However, this could only last until now because the final test was a one-on-one battle with Master Blackie. The Black Wizard immediately transformed his body into a giant dragon, emphasizing that the young man had to fight him to complete this test. The dragon roared, saying that fighting would only make Lu Feng's death more painful. Then it shot very powerful destructive energy directly at Lu Feng. Fortunately, this young man managed to create ice walls from both of his swords to avoid the fire attack. Seeing his attack being held, the black dragon became angrier, bombarding his opponent with volcanic rocks while yelling for Lu Feng to accept his fate. Fortunately, with agility, Lu Feng managed to avoid every rain of volcanic rocks coming towards him. Once again, the black dragon said that fighting and avoiding it would only make the young man's death more painful. But Lu Feng replied that the Black Wizard's assumption was wrong. One cannot know anything about true strength until they fight to the death. Lu Feng stood on the shoulders of the doomed patrol troops as he affirmed his answer. Soon we will witness an epic battle between the Black Dragon and the strongest force on Earth, the Doom Patrol. With sharp, determined eyes, Lu Feng ordered the Doom Patrol troops to defeat the Black Dragon. One of the troops immediately drew his bow, and the arrow shot into the sky, turning into a meteor shower that fell directly onto the body of the Black Dragon. In response, the Black Dragon opened its mouth wide and shot a very powerful firestorm. Not to be outdone, the patrol troops raised their magic staffs to summon an even larger meteor shower. Now the Black Dragon couldn't avoid it, and some sides of its wings were pierced by meteors. The creature roared in pain before finally landing. However, the Black Wizard still acted arrogantly and said that Lu Feng was a foolish human. After all, the Black Wizard was the destroyer of the world. The creature prepared to shoot another fireball, saying that everything in front of it would surely perish by its flames. Realizing the enemy's increasingly devastating attack, all the Doom Patrol troops chose to retreat first. But some of them couldn't escape from the raging flames. The Black Dragon laughed satisfactorily because he was very sure he could eliminate them all. At this moment, one of the stealth troops threw his spear as fast as lightning. The Black Dragon, still busy attacking his opponent, didn't realize the presence of the spear. But fortunately, the spear only grazed its side. Once again, the Black Dragon laughed at the enemy, considered very pathetic because they couldn't throw the spear properly and missed. Lu Feng suddenly was right in front of the dragon's face, smiling broadly and saying that the shot didn't miss. This young man used the spear to fly close to the dragon's head unnoticed. Now it was too late for the Black Wizard to realize this tactic. Lu Feng landed firmly on the dragon's head, thrusting his sword while saying it was time to slaughter the dragon. With such a powerful lightning attack, the Black Dragon could only roar in pain before finally falling heavily to the ground. The Black Dragon was motionless, and finally, the system announced that the secret test was over and Lu Feng had successfully obtained the job classless. Now he was immediately transferred to the main altar and faced again with the two legendary wizards. The system in front explained that the job classless could help him learn all the skills from all job levels. The Black Wizard still couldn't believe he was truly defeated by a human. His companion, the White Wizard, said there would always be someone out there capable of creating miracles. Then the White Wizard congratulated Lu Feng for breaking the record. He was the only one among thousands of awakeners who successfully obtained a job classless. Boldly, Lu Feng asked about his hidden reward. The White Wizard raised his staff and asked the young man to catch a ball of light flying towards him. When the ball of light was in Lu Feng's hand, it transformed into a round object, which turned out to be a rank S summoning badge. The badge could summon targets who were previously in a test to fight against their enemies, but it could only be used once. Nevertheless, Lu Feng thought it was quite good because he could choose from 100 groups he wanted to confront earlier. Instantly, the badge turned back into light and entered his account. The system explained that the plan would automatically understand hidden skills and unlock the seal of the ocean of knowledge. Thus, this plan could protect someone's soul and prevent anyone from entering their memories. This was what Lu Feng wanted because Austin could read other people's minds. The young man was relieved because he finally got a good item to counter Austin's ability. Now he just needed to become stronger as soon as possible to defeat Austin. In short, Anya and her assistant had already escorted Lu Feng back to his apartment. When the young man got out of the car, the secretary seemed confused about saying something. So the young man quickly explained that marrying the CEO would raise the secretary's salary. The woman's secretary remained silent with a worried look. Realizing that their CEO was very difficult to handle, wondered if Lu Feng could do it. But before the secretary left, Lu Feng still instructed her to order hot pot to go from the Star River restaurant. Lu Feng also told the girl to put this food bill on Anya's account, knowing that the girl was on a diet. So they wouldn't spend much money on food, which meant there was still plenty of budget left, so they shouldn't waste it. The secretary could only heave a heavy sigh without being able to object or refuse the young man's request. Finally, Lu Feng was now sitting comfortably at his home, enjoying a hot pot complete with various expensive vegetables and meats. Suddenly, his phone vibrated, and when he opened it, it turned out to be a series of messages from little Loli. The little witch was curious why Lu Feng hadn't replied to her messages. She was upset and wanted to vent about some childish people around her. Lu Feng was a little annoyed because the little girl was bothering him. He thought it would be better if Tao Dao had more homework instead. Now, Tao Dao was inviting Lu Feng to go to the arcade after the young man had plenty of free time. Lu Feng replied that their game in the Shadow World wasn't over yet. Little Loli wasn't happy because the Shadow World was too dangerous. Lu Feng reminded her that the real world would soon be in danger too. If the little girl got bored, he could accompany her to go to London and play real games there. Tao Dao was suspicious because the game sounded like a scam, especially since there was an exam next week, so the little girl couldn't leave school. Thus, Lu Feng could only wish luck for exam. Lu Feng thought about what he would handle, which directly related to the success rate of the human race in cleaning the Shadow World. The young man arranged his sister's photo while saying that even if he died in the shadow world, it was something irreversible. But what he promised to his sister would be fulfilled soon because it was also for the peace and harmony of the world. In a short time, the young man had arrived at their final destination, the city of London. Getting off the train station, he looked at the map of the whole city first. Leo was also seen focusing on studying the map. Zia looked excited because this was her first time going abroad. The girl always wanted to experience what it was like to be an international gangster. Completely unaware, Ling Yu, who was by his side, was a member of an international gangster. Leo asked Lu Feng where they were all going and what they would do, because after they first arrived in London, Lu Feng put them in a very annoying situation, as they had to undergo a highly concealed transformation like high-class prisoners. So Zia was also curious about where exactly they were going. Lu Feng, who had been sitting cross-legged on the floor of the car since earlier, finally answered that they would do something very important. The young man instead asked Zia back, "Where do you think they will go?" Zia took out her phone and realized that after entering the vehicle, all their location services stopped working. This meant that the vehicle they were riding in couldn't be tracked, let alone followed. The girl became more convinced that the place they were heading to was a very secret location. Due to the lack of information, she couldn't guess where they would go. Lu Feng simply explained that they would go to guard someone. Zia wanted to know exactly who the mysterious person was. The girl suspected they were someone from the Prime Minister level or higher. Lu Feng replied that the figure was much more important than the Prime Minister because their survival defense would affect the survival defense of their world. Leo realized that the responsibility of this task was immense. But for Zia, only Lu Feng's survival defense affected the defense of this world, so she wouldn't accept the fact that there was anyone more important than the boss. Ling Yu realized that the car had stopped and said that they had finally arrived. There were several similar black truck vehicles like the one they rode in at that place. After getting out of the car, Zia became even more upset because those people were indeed treating them like objects, as evidenced by them being taken to a large warehouse. But Lu Feng still invited them to enter and register. Inside the room was already full of people who looked very formidable. There was a mysterious group just silent in the corner of the room, but their killing aura was very strong. Zia even asked who those people were. Why did they all have such strong killing intentions? Ling Yu answered that they were people from the Devouring Light. This meant they were a top 10 ranked killer group in the world. Each of their members was a master in their respective fields. Their security service was the best of the best, and only the best weapons in the world were provided for them to use. Leo was amazed to see the members of the Sky Shield Guild there. Their captain, known as the God of Shield, looked like a grand knight leading all the other knights. When a masked man entered the building with his security members, everyone immediately focused on him. The masked man welcomed all the heroes to London. He acknowledged that everyone who came to that place was super elites from the security service domain, so they felt honored to have all attendees participate in this selection place. Now Zia thought Lu Feng was extraordinary because he could gain access to anything he wanted. The boss, wearing a white suit, explained that the selection would begin soon, so he asked everyone to look at the rows of doors in front of them. He explained that the first test was simple. They were only asked to enter one of the 3 doors there, and the top 10 teams that could reach the exit door the fastest would qualify for the next round. They only had 3 minutes to choose one door, and those who couldn't enter any exit door before the time ran out would be considered eliminated. With sharp eyes, the masked man warned all participants that this test had a possibility of death, so he hoped everyone would be lucky. Right after the man in the white attire finished speaking, the countdown of 3 minutes began. Everyone started to panic because they only had 3 minutes to choose which door they believed was correct to follow for this test. They needed to be cautious because if they chose the wrong door, they would struggle to move forward. One of the participants heard there was an expert who could track routes among the Devouring Light group, so they thought to follow that group wherever they went. An old man from the Devouring Light group rolled a red-colored die, and as it landed, the object showed the number 1, so the group entered door number 1. This made the other people observe the Devouring Light group using such methods to choose between life and death. Meanwhile, the Sky Shield Guild would proceed with Plan B. They would split into several teams and then regroup after successfully obtaining information about the layout of the place. So, the group was divided into several small teams to enter each door. Everyone was confused and hesitant, choosing to enter doors randomly. Only 1 minute remained, but Lu Feng and his entire team still hadn't chosen the door they wanted. Zia reminded her boss that time was almost up, so they should choose quickly. Lu Feng suggested they proceed after looking at the maze map. Leo innocently asked if the organizers should have given them a map. Lu Feng took out a small winged drone in his hand and replied that he made the map himself, so he asked the others to give him a moment. This man ordered all the drones to enter each door and inspect all the routes. These drones were called Shadow World Bird Rank B. The item could scan its surroundings and map the place in a short time. In just a few minutes, the flying drone passed through all the participants who entered the maze and successfully mapped the entire place. Zaya was puzzled when she saw the vast maze layout, and I worried whether their group would manage to navigate it on time. Lu Feng said it was a good defense because the route and map were already completed, so they could carefully observe the entire location. Leo was impressed by the drone's ability to map the area so quickly, but Linghu argued that the current situation wasn't good. The map indicated that there were individual rooms in the maze that could move, meaning the maze would constantly change, potentially leading them astray. Lu Feng led the way and asked them to stay calm since he had passed through the maze more than 10,000 times. Now that they had the map structure, depending on its complexity, Lu Feng could navigate it even blindfolded. Zaya cheered happily, once again witnessing the boss's extraordinary abilities. The girl was confident that as long as they followed Lu Feng, there would be no need to strain their brains. A masked officer asked the director in white clothes if Lu Feng's group could be considered cheating for using drones to scan the location. The director replied that there were no rules for this test, so they were allowed to do anything. Furthermore, he doubted that a group of inexperienced people would pose any security threats, which made the test even more interesting. Meanwhile, the girl thought that it seemed unlikely that Lu Feng's unfamiliar group would succeed. People needed to know that the maze was filled with traps. Even if they had a map, they wouldn't get very far because the traps there were deadly and ruthless. Currently, the only group to reach a fairly deep level in the maze was the Devouring group. After passing through a room full of laser traps, they finally saw the exit door at the end of the corridor. They were delighted to finally find the exit door. They hated walking so much, finally, they would soon be able to rest. They would take some pleasant time to rest. They guessed that the second team to arrive there might need at least 2 hours. But when they entered the rest area, they saw Lu Feng and his group playing cards. They looked so relaxed as if they had been there all along. All members of the Devouring group were shocked that someone else could reach the finish line before them. The group members started blaming an old man in their group because Jack said only a god could reach the exit door faster than them. Nonchalantly, Lu Feng turned around when he heard them talking and greeted them, saying that he was that god. The entire group that successfully passed the first test entered a special hall. The director congratulated them all for passing the first test, and now they would move on to the next test. First, they had the top 10 to reach the next pavilion and take the test. The last group to pass the first test went up to the altar, and then after the 10th group left, not long after, the 9th group went up. Then after the 9th group left, the 8th group went up to the stage, and so on until there were 2 large groups left that managed to enter the first test. Leo asked, "What kind of test is this?" because he noticed that it had been 3 minutes since the first team went down, and the others would follow immediately. But why did they have to wait for a while? Zaya understood this peak by saying that this must be a death game. Only when the first team died would the next team be able to descend immediately after. Leo looked immediately surprised and frightened. But Lu Feng patted the boy's head and asked him to calm down because no one would die there. Suddenly, Mr. Jack approached Linghu and asked if the little girl was Zero, the assassin rumored not to join any organization. He was curious why the girl joined a group of strangers. Their group wanted Linghu to join their group. Linghu replied that they better mind their own business. But Mr. Jack didn't give up. He reached out and asked the girl to join his group again. According to him, Linghu wouldn't be able to develop her potential if she mixed with such a strange group of people. Lu Feng approached them and immediately clapped Mr. Jack's hand. He thought the old man was very rude for trying to recruit one of his group members right in front of him. Mr. Jack blew his hand and said that Lu Feng's group had cheated to get first place. If Zero followed them, the girl would surely be eliminated soon. Lu Feng replied with a cold gaze that they could only see the results later. Finally, the second team to reach the first test pavilion was called to go up to the altar, but all the Devouring Light troops still had time to scorn Lu Feng and his group, whom they considered trash. They thought the young man and all his team members must have been tired of life. The only girl in the group even said they would never see Lu Feng's group again after this. But after this test, they wanted to get rid of Lu Feng and all the team members later. After the Devouring Light Guild left, Linghu bowed sadly as if she had caused the problem. Lu Feng smiled broadly and asked the girl to relax because they were all just a bunch of unlucky ants. Lu Feng would trample them because they were noisy with his group members. Finally, it was time for their team to enter the altar and take the next test. Zaya was curious about what the test would be like. Lu Feng said they would finally meet that person, the client they had to protect. When the altar stage descended, they immediately moved to an empty room that was very empty. There was only a bluish glowing ball of light in the middle of the room. The ball of light greeted the participants who had just entered, introducing themselves as the client they would protect. Zaya was surprised that they would protect a ball of light. The ball of light explained that it was an artificial intelligence created to protect the client's original brain. It was assigned to this test, so if they passed this test, they would be appointed to protect the original body of the light ball. Leo asked if the person behind this was an anthologist. The ball of light apologized for not being able to answer such questions. The ball of light would be the one to ask questions. Firstly, it wanted to know how much this group knew about the current condition of its original body. Lu Feng replied that the person's real name was Eileen. Her profession was AI specialist. At the same time, the woman was a researcher in the shadow world. She was the one who inserted artificial intelligence into the shadow world, so that was the great influence Eileen had on the real world. Simply put, the girl was someone who could predict future changes from within the shadow world. Of course, all of this was also made possible by the OC Consortium, established by your grandfather, and provided financial assistance to the woman. Much of the information Lu Feng mentioned had never been disclosed to the outside world. The young group could get this test opportunity because of the remaining kindness of their beloved grandfather. So the system wanted to know what Lu Feng's last message was from Eileen's grandfather before he died. The young man's eyes turned melancholy as he said that Eileen's grandfather wanted to save this world. That's also why he sold all his OC group shared 3 months ago to support his grandson's research. It was the grandfather who asked Lu Feng to protect Eileen because the girl was a very important figure in the fight against the shadow world. The old man also said that at the same time, when humans attacked the shadow world, they also tried to infiltrate the real world. That's why the time was almost up for humans to deal with the shadow world. Furthermore, Eileen was a type of shadow world research expert. So you are the most important figure who will play a big role in saving humanity. Through that light circle, Eileen conveyed that it seemed that my grandfather trusted Lu Feng very much. This young man conveyed the last word that the grandfather wanted to convey to Eileen. That Eileen was not a tool but my beloved granddaughter and also a colleague in saving the world. Lu Feng reached out to the energy ball to take the test, but the AI system only thanked him for the message he had conveyed. But the energy ball changed color to red, meaning it failed. Everyone there was shocked. How could they fail? The AI sphere explained that first, the youth attempted to complete the exam with the aid of means I greatly despise. Second, he obtained the necessary information from Lu Feng through this exam. But most importantly, it would pose too much risk to the original body if a group of unprofessional individuals were to take over this mission and protect me. Ziyu was immediately angry and referred to the AI sphere as a shameless creature. The AI sphere wanted to explain some things regarding the escort mission. Suddenly, the energy sphere changed color to blue and stated that Lu Feng's group had passed the exam. Lu Feng speculated that the change in the energy's decision was due to orders from the original body given after hearing what the youth said. The AI sphere was shocked and asked how the youth could know. Could it be that the youth had already predicted all this would happen, including how the original body would react to Lu Feng's message? This youth also explained that he had been researching AI for decades. Although not as smart as the original Eileen, in my eyes, the energy sphere was just a digital tool used by others to help them achieve their goals. In Lu Feng's case, I used the technology to bypass those behind him and convince them. The AI sphere corroborated Lu Feng's words and realized that the youth was an unanalyzable human. With confidence, Ziyu said that my boss is a god. After the next door opened, Lu Feng invited everyone to leave because the others must have been tired of waiting. The four of them entered the brighter door and entered a meeting room with a large table and many chairs. All members of the Sky Shield and Devouring Light guilds were already seated in those chairs. Everyone from those two major groups was surprised to see an ordinary group like Lu Feng qualify for and pass this mission. They had said only the most experienced veterans were suitable for this job. Smiling confidently, Lu Feng waved his hand and said he was glad everyone had gathered there. The director standing on the other side of the table explained that Lu Feng and his group would be the backup team to protect the main team. So no one could refuse this decision, but regarding job delegation, they wouldn't take on as much responsibility as the other two groups. Lu Feng sat in his chair, stating that it had been a pleasure to join this mission, so he wouldn't care too much about his duties. Then, a moment later, the youth's expression changed as he requested immediate mission guidance. Thus, the director immediately pressed a small button on his hand because he would now explain the mission directly to everyone there. It was a 7-day escort mission. They were only tasked with ensuring the client's safety for 7 days. During those 7 days, they would work on a spaceship flying to a wider space. The Avalon spacecraft was about to take off to the Mars space station, so everyone was asked to board immediately. Leo complained as they walked in because they had received so much money but still hadn't met the client. It didn't seem right to him. Lu Feng replied, what could be better than getting blind pay? So he asked Leo to calm down and enjoy this luxurious trip to space. A beautiful stewardess in a sexy outfit welcomed them aboard the Avalon spacecraft. After passing the stewardess, Xia remarked to Lu Feng that she noticed all the staff there were excessively beautiful women, so she would be the go-between for the youth to quickly get a sister-in-law. Unexpectedly, Lu Feng replied, "Of course, that's allowed." Upon entering the main hall of the spacecraft, Xia was amazed to see many people with various professions, as if the whole city was inside that place. This was apparently how the wealthy spent their money. Leo reminded the girl that they were going there for work, but he also wondered where the Devouring Light Guild members were. Lu Feng replied that the two guilds got seats in first class while they got economy class, so their departure point was also different. Xia was annoyed because everyone there was only interested in making money by any means. But why did they underestimate their group? Lu Feng explained that one economy class ticket cost around $10 million, including expenses for their entire 7-day stay there. Xia's eyes sparkled upon hearing that amount. The girl exclaimed with joy that she would take advantage of this opportunity to eat and drink as much as she could, not wasting any chance. Xia jumped for joy because she loved getting paid even without doing anything. Leo became worried about this job, asking Lin Yu if they could meet the client this time. Lin Yu replied, "Honestly, I'll say it straight, I only like and am good at killing people." Leo sighed heavily upon realizing that no one in their guild was normal. Leo recalled that Luo Zhu liked challenging many male fighters alone. Miss Anya liked to act cruelly by directly taking over the opponent's company and firing that person until the opponent divorced his wife. The secretary was confused because the boss was upset just because Lu Feng left. On the other hand, Mr. Zhao was on vacation while receiving calls from someone constantly offering him supplements. Even though he didn't need something like that, he ordered the person to stop calling him, or he would destroy their company. Little Loli, who seemed very gentle, turned out to be very terrifying. The little girl could hack the entire school system, wanting to do it again so she wouldn't have to worry about facing exams later. But now, because the liar Lu Feng was on a space journey, I couldn't play with anyone. In the spaceship already flying to leave Earth, Lu Feng and his 3 companions entered their room after showing their palm print identity. Xia was shocked upon entering the room and seeing there were 6 sleeping pods and 1 shared toilet. The girl was shocked to realize they had to share a toilet on this economy flight, especially since they consisted of 2 women and 2 men. Leo was shocked because they didn't even have a private space. This meant they were truly treated very differently from the VIPs. But without caring about others' opinions and perspectives, Lin Yu immediately took off his clothes. Lu Feng quickly covered Leo's eyes, saying the kid was too young and not ready to see this. With a frustrated expression, Xia said, "Why did the girl suddenly start doing fan service?" Ling Yu casually replied, "I just wanted to take a shower." So the long-haired girl immediately entered the depths and started showering. Xia quickly closed the bathroom door, which had not been adjusted for visibility. Xia grumbled again because her teammate was so careless for not adjusting the bathroom door's visibility. Ling Yu simply responded, "It's too troublesome." Xia became puzzled, is that girl a robot? Because some of Ling Yu's behaviors indeed seemed robotic. But when Xia wanted to ask for Lu Feng's opinion, the young man had already disappeared. Asking Leo, Xia inquired, "Where did our boss go?" Leo could only shake his head innocently. Lu Feng was walking along the corridor while communicating with Island's AI ball. The small ball asked if it could help Lu Feng, and the young man honestly said, "I want to meet Island." The AI ball replied that Lu Feng's team was currently on standby, while the current client was being guarded by the Skyshield Guild and Devouring Light interns. Lu Feng's team wouldn't be called unless one of those 2 main teams encountered an unexpected crisis. So Lu Feng was asked to be patient a little longer. Because the system was stubborn, Lu Feng offered to make a deal. The system ball replied that it wasn't interested in any deals and found making deals with humans boring. Lu Feng said he could provide information about everyone on the plane, so Island could analyze everyone's background and determine potential threats, thus enhancing her security. The AI ball was surprised that the young man managed to bypass the advanced Skynet internet security system. If needed, he could even enter any system, including Island's, but because she was crucial for the world's future, he would protect her and not endanger her. So the young man asked if they had reached an agreement now. The AI ball couldn't refuse the offer because, with the list of members, it would increase the original body's survival defense by 15%. But it could only give the young man 30 minutes for this meeting. For Lu Feng, that was more than enough. In short, he brought the entire team to the room for their agreement. On the way, Xia mentioned that the boss had been missing for almost a whole day but suddenly appeared and took all the members away. So she wondered where they were going. Lu Feng replied that they were going to meet the client. At the entrance to Island's room, 2 Sky Shield team members saw the newcomer's appearance. They asked what Lu Feng's team wanted to do. The guards couldn't allow the newcomers to participate in this mission, so they drove Lu Feng's group away from the room. Xia firmly responded that from this point on, Their boss and their group would be in charge. Lu Feng also reminded them to check the system calendar. The two guards realized that the schedule had indeed been changed, and they had to leave their post early. They were puzzled as to why Lu Feng's group, which was supposed to be on standby, was now on duty. Without hesitation, Xia pushed the two big men aside, telling them to get out of the way and stop obstructing those who were going to be on duty in that place. They had to obey the rules and follow whatever the system calendar said. Finally, the Breaking Dawn group could enter the main client's room after getting permission. Inside, a beautiful girl with blonde hair welcomed them with a very worried expression. This was the original island who had been waiting for Lu Feng and the entire team to arrive.